Hello everybody, today I'm going to be doing a tutorial on the CloudDB Chat App, and before I get started with the tutorial, I'm going to show you what the app looks like and how it works. So here I have the app pulled up on my screen. As you can see, we have a text box at the top, a submit button, and a clear all button at the bottom. So the first thing it asks is to enter my name to join the chat, so I'm just going to enter my name. And then when I press submit, you can see that the text changed to type in your message and press submit. So I'm just going to say hi. And you can see that my message popped up. Now I'm going to take a second device that also has the same app on it. And I'm going to join from that chat. So I'm going to join as a different name, say Anna. And I'm going to type in hello in this device, my other one. And when I submit that, you can see it pops up on this device as well. And so you can type back and forth, and you can just type different messages, and there can be as many people on the chat app as you want. And so this just allows you to be able to chat with a lot of people. And then if I click the clear all button on my device, you can see that everything clears, and I also have to re-enter my name to join. So if I do Jess, and I press submit, and I say hi again, you can see that it's a new chat. And that is how the app works, and you can connect to it on multiple devices so that you can speak to multiple people. So before we get started in building the app, I just want to explain the concept of the cloud. So in the last tutorial we did with the to-do list, we used TinyDB, which was a local storage database system. But for this app, we're going to be using CloudDB, which is a cloud storage system. So what the cloud is that it's a bunch of servers that you can store data on, and then anyone can pull from that cloud database. So as you can see, we have multiple devices that can send data to the cloud, and then other devices can pull from the cloud as well. So that's how this app is able to work. When we send our messages, it goes into the cloud, and all the other devices that are connected to that cloud are able to pull that message and show it on their device. And so that's how the cloud database storage works, and how it is kind of different from our TinyDB database. So to get started in building the app, we want to make sure we're in the Create App section of MIT App Inventor, which should look like what I have on the screen. We want to make sure we're using the correct user interface, so let's go to Settings, User Interface Settings, make sure that Neo is selected, and press OK. And then we're going to press this New Project button, and the project name is going to be CloudDB Chat App, just like this, CloudDB Chat App, and press OK. So it should bring you to this page where we have our device and we can start adding components to it. But before we add any components, I want to change the background color of our screen. So I'm going to go click on screen 1. For background color, I'm going to click black. And now we can start adding some components. So the first thing I want to add is a label. So I'm going to go to the left and drag this label onto my screen. And you can see it pops up here. I want to first change the color to white so that we can see it in the black background. And the text I'm going to change it to is enter your name to join the chat. So it should look like this, and I'm going to make it a little bigger. I'm going to make the font size 24 so we can see it. And I want to make sure that on my screen it's aligned in the center of the screen. And to do so, I'm going to go to screen 1, click Align Horizontal, and click Center. As you can see, it moved to the center of the screen. The next thing that I want to add to my screen is going to be a horizontal arrangement. So I'm going to go to the left, go to Layout, and drag in this horizontal arrangement. Now I'm going to change some of its properties. So I'm going to make the width of it fill parent. And then for the background color, I'm going to make this one gray. Just like that. And now I can start adding some things to my horizontal arrangement. The first thing I want to add is the text box where the user can enter their name or their chat message. So on the left, I'm going to drag in this text box and make sure it's inside the horizontal arrangement. And then I'm going to change some of its properties. So for the width, I'm going to make it fill parent. And then I'm going to make sure that multi-line is selected. The next thing I want to add is going to be the submit button in the horizontal arrangement. So I'm going to go up to the top on the left and drag in this button. And I want to make sure that it's hovered over the horizontal arrangement. And it should look like this when I put it in. It's right next to the text box. I'm going to rename this to submit button, so we know what it is, and press OK. As you can see, it changed. And then I'm just going to change some of its properties. So the background color I'm going to make green, and then I'm going to make the shape of it rounded, and the text I'm going to do submit in all caps, just like that. And that's what it should look like. And then I want to make sure that on my device that the text box and the submit button are aligned in the center. And to do so, I'm going to go to horizontal arrangement, and align horizontal, I'm going to make it center. Now the next thing I want to add is going to be the list view, so that all of the different chats from people show up. And that's going to be on the left in this list view. I'm going to just drag this here. And then for the list view, I'm going to change some of its properties. So the background color, I want it to be white so that we can see it. And then I'm going to go down to the height. I'm going to fill parent. And then the width, I'm also going to fill parent. And then since the background is white, I want to make sure that the text color is black and the text color detail is also black, so that we can see it when people enter in their chats. And the last visible component I'm going to add is going to be the clear button at the bottom. So I'm going to go to the left, dragging this button on the bottom here. I'm going to rename this to clear button, just like that. And then let's change some of its properties. So the background color I'm going to make red. I'm going to go down and make the shape rounded. And then for the text, I'm going to do clear all in all caps, just like this. So this is what our screen should look like. These are all the visible components that we will need. And the last thing that we need to add is going to be the CloudDB, so that people are able to send things into the cloud and then pull from the cloud. And that's going to be down under storage. So I'm going to drag in this CloudDB and just hover over the screen and make sure that it shows up in non-visible components, as well as on the right hand side right here. And these are all the components that we will need for our app, so we can get started in doing the blocks for it. So let's go up and click on blocks. So the first thing we want to do for our chat app is going to be initializing some global variables. So things we want to keep track of is first the user's name. We also want to keep track of the chat list to make sure that we can pull from the cloud database and make sure that we have what was in the chat before we joined. And then we want to make sure that we keep track of if the user has joined the chat or not. So let's first make a username global variable. So we're going to go under variables. We're going to initialize global, and we're going to put in here user name, just like that. And we're going to initialize it to a blank text first. And then we also want to initialize if the user has joined the chat or not. So let's get another global variable. This one we're going to name joined. And we're first going to set it to false. So go to logic, dragging this false block into here. And the last global variable we're going to need is the chat list. So go into variables, grab another global variable, and this one is going to be chat list. And then we're going to initialize this to an empty list. So create empty list. And these are all the global variables that we'll need. So let's deal with the buttons first. So first we want to deal with the submit button. We're going to go down and click on the submit button and dragging this when submit button not clicked. So when the user clicks the submit button, we want to first make sure that the user has joined the chat or not. So if the user hasn't joined the chat yet, that means that the user had need to enter in their name, and we need to initialize their name, and then after that they're able to type a message. But if they have joined the chat already, we want to call on our CloudDB, and whatever was in the text box is the message that they want to send. And then so we have to update the chat app with that. So let's just first deal with when they haven't joined the chat yet. So we want to go up and go to control and drag in this if then else statement. So first we want to check if they haven't joined yet. So we want to go into logic and drag in this not, and then we want to check join. So let's hover over joined and get global join. So if not get global joined, that means that they haven't joined the chat yet. And then next we want to make sure that the text box isn't empty, so that they have entered in their name, and then set their name. So let's go to control and drag in this if then statement, plop it into here, and then we want to do if not, so drag in this not, and then we want to make sure that the text box isn't empty. So let's go to text and then drag in is empty. And then at the bottom, we're going to go into text box 1 and grab text box 1.text. So this is saying that the text box isn't empty. So it is, if it isn't empty, we want to set the username. So let's hover over this and set global username. Click it into here. And we want to set it to whatever was in this text box. So we're going to go to text box and drag in this text box 1.text. Just plop it in here. And now, since they have joined, we want to set the global join variable to true. So let's hover over here and set global joined to, and we can go to logic and drag in this true block. And now we want to make sure that the text at the very top changes from enter your name into type in your message and press submit. So to do so, we're going to go down to label 1 and we're going to drag in the set label 1.text, plop it in here, and then we're going to go up to text, drag in this text box, and in here we're going to enter in type in your message and press submit, just like that. And that's just going to change the label at the top so that the user can enter in their message now. So for the else block, we want to deal with the case that they're trying to submit a message. So now when they click submit, we want to add whatever they had in the text into the CloudDB list. So we're going to go into CloudDB and we're going to call CloudDB 1.append value to list. And then the list we want to add to, I'm going to call chat. So we can go to text, drag in this block, and the tag is going to be chat. And the item we want to add is going to be, we're going to have to add their username, the colon, and then their text, like whatever they entered in the text box. So we're going to go up to text and drag in this join. And then we're going to get their username. And then we're going to want to add in this text right here. And we're going to do this colon and add a space after. So make sure that you have the colon and the space. And then we just want to add something else. So we're going to click on this gear icon, drag another string into here. And then we want to add whatever message they typed, which will be in the text box. So go down to text box 1 and get text box 1.text right here. So that's what we're going to add in the CloudDB. And then after that, we just want to set the text box to nothing. We want to clear the text box. So to do that, we're going to go to text box 1.text and then set text box 1. And you want to make sure this is added after the if then else statement because we want to clear it no matter what. And then we're going to set it to an empty text. And so that's all we need for when they click the submit button. So the thing about the CloudDB is that when you call it, there's kind of like a latency where you have to wait until it gives you the value from that call. So now we have to deal with when we get the actual value and then we want to display it onto our screen. And to do so, we're going to go down and click on CloudDB 1, and then we're going to go down to when CloudDB1.got value. And then when it gets the value, what we want to do is we want to check that the tag that we got from the CloudDB is the chat tag, and then we want to set our global chat list to that value, that chat value, and then we want to display that onto our list. So to do so, we're going to go up to control and add an if-then statement. And so we want to do if the tag is equal to chat, so let's go to logic and add in this equal. And then we want to go hover over tag and drag in this get tag. And then we want to go over to text, drag in this text, and then just put chat. And we did this because we added to the chat tag. And then if that's true, we want to set our global chat list. So let's go to variables, drag in this set, and we're going to do global chat list to the value in the CloudDB. So dragging this get value, and it's going to just set that chat list to the whole list we have in the cloud. And then we want to set our list view. So let's go down to list view, and we're going to set list view 1.elements to our global chat list. So we can go to variables, and we're going to drag in this get and do global chat list. And that's going to make sure that all of the updated chats that people have entered is set into that list view. And then something about the cloud is that when anything is changed in that cloud database, it alerts every single device that's connected to that cloud. And so like when someone adds in a chat to that cloud, it'll alert all the devices connected to it that the data has changed. And when that data has changed, we want to pull from it and update the list view to make sure that we're getting all the new messages that people are entering. And so to do that, we're going to go over to the CloudDB1 and dragging this when CloudDB1.data changed. And so when the data changed, we're going to do the exact same thing that we did in the got value. We're going to make sure that the tag is equal to chat, and then set the global chat list, and then update the list view elements. So we can just copy in this whole block into this when CloudDB1.data change block. So we can click on this, make sure that if then is highlighted, right click it, and press this duplicate, and we're going to just drag that in there. And that's all we need for when the data is changed. So how these two blocks differ is that this one is when we call the data, the cloud database, then we have to wait to get the value. But then this one is just making sure that anytime anyone else or any other device changes or like adds into the cloud, that all the devices connected are updated. Yeah. And then so the last button that we need to deal with is going to be the clear button. So let's just go down to this clear button and drag in this when clear button.click. And when that's clicked, we just want to update all our global variables to be like the default ones. And then we want to update the text box, the label, and the list view to make sure those are all set back. And then we want to just clear what we had in the cloud database. So let's start off with the global variables. We're going to drag in the set, and we're going to do first the global chat list, and we're going to set that to an empty list. And then we're going to set another global variable. Let's do the global joined, and we're going to set that to logic false. And then the last global variable we need to change is going to be the global username, and we want to make that empty, so let's drag in this empty text. And now we want to just reset the label that we had, the text box, and then the list view. So let's go and start with resetting the label. And so we're going to go down to set label 1.text. And the label that we originally had was enter your name to join the chat. So we're just going to drag this in and click enter your name to join the chat. Just like that. And then we want to reset the text box. So go to text box 1 and let's do set text box 1.text to an empty text. And then we want to reset our list view. So let's do list view.1 and we want to set list view1.elements to the empty list. So let's go to lists and at the very top do the create empty list. And the last thing we want to reset is going to be the CloudDB Chat tag. So let's go down to CloudDB.1 and we're going to call CloudDB1.clear tag, and the tag we want to clear is going to be that chat tag. So let's add in this text and it's going to be chat, just like that. So this is what our block should look like right now. We've initialized all our global variables. We've dealt with the submit button. We've dealt with when CloudDB has gotten a value or when the data in the cloud has changed. And we've dealt with the clear button. And so like we did with the last app, the to-do list, we want to make sure that when the screen is actually initialized, that we grab what we had from the CloudDB. And so to do that, we're going to go to screen 1, and then when screen 1.initialize, we want to call on the cloud, and then we just want to pull that chat tag from it. And if it's not there, we just want to do an empty list. So we're going to go down to CloudDB.1, and we want to do CloudDB1.getValue. And the tag that we're going to get is going to be chat, just like that. And then the value, if the tag isn't there, is just going to be this empty list. And that's just going to make sure that if you join a chat that's already active, that like people have already been talking in, that it's just going to grab all of those texts and it's going to show up on your screen. And then that's all that we need for our app. And so to connect to it, what I like to do, it's kind of similar to the to-do list app, is build it. So in this, we can press build and Android app, and then you can just scan the QR code with your tablet, and then it's going to take you to a web page where you can download the app physically on your device. So I'm just going to do that with both the tablets that I have, and then I can demonstrate what the app we have created looks like. So I'm just going to wait for the QR code to pop up, and then I'm just going to download it on my devices. It might take a little while, but yeah, so once the QR code pops up, you can just scan it with your device and download the app. So here I have the app that we've created on my screen, and as you can see, it says enter your name to join the chat. So I'm going to click on the text box that we have. I'm just going to enter my name and click submit. And then you can see that the top changed and it says type in your message and press submit. So I'm just going to type in hi with an exclamation point and click submit. And then on my second device, I'm just going to enter a different name, press submit, and then I'm going to enter in a message. And then you can see on this device that I can see the message that I have entered in on my other device, and you can just talk back and forth. How are you? Can submit that, and then it shows up on my other device, and then I can respond and be like, good, submit. And then if I clear it on my other device, if I press clear all on my other device, and then I try to type something on my current device like hello, and I press submit, you can see that everything else has cleared because I cleared the database on a separate device. but my name on my current device has not been cleared yet. It's just that the data from the CloudDB is gone, so that when I pulled that data, it's just my new message and nothing else. And so that just kind of demonstrates how the cloud works, and how it can connect to multiple devices. Yeah, and so this is a very, very fun app that you can try out with your friends or other people, and I hope you enjoyed doing the tutorial. So that was the tutorial, and we can think about ways that we can expand our app. So one thing that we can think about is maybe instead of displaying messages where the newest one is at the bottom, we can think about how we can change it so that the newest ones are at the top. Another thing you can do is make sure that you can alert every device when someone new joins the chat, because right now we have to wait until a user types in a message to kind of see when they join the chat. So someone can join the chat and never type a message, and all the devices would never know. A third thing that we can think about is maybe adding a timestamp to see when each message was entered. And then last thing we can kind of think about to expand the app is adding separate chat rooms so that a user can kind of specify which chat room they want to enter, and it'll bring them to that room where they can only see messages from people in that specific chat room. Those are just fun things you can think about doing, and I would really encourage you to try it out. But I hope you had so much fun with this tutorial, and congratulations on building it.